It was one of those bitterly cold mornings in downtown Chicago. Snow blanketed the streets, muffling the usual city buzz. People rushed past each other, bundled up against the biting wind, too preoccupied to notice anything or anyone around them, except for Emily. The 23-year-old waitress was on her way to work, clutching a steaming cup of coffee in one hand and a worn-out bag in the other. Her coat, a hand-me-down from her late mother, was patched in several places, but it kept her warm enough. As she hurried toward the diner where she worked double shifts, she spotted something unusual out of the corner of her eye. An elderly man sat on the icy sidewalk, his thin jacket doing little to protect him from the unforgiving weather. His hands trembled as he held up a cardboard sign. Lost everything. Hungry and cold. Please help. Emily stopped in her tracks, her heart twisting painfully. She'd walked this route hundreds of times, and had seen her fair share of people down on their luck. But something about this man, the hopelessness in his eyes, the way he shivered uncontrollably, made her pause. She glanced at her wallet. Inside were a few crumpled bills, barely enough to get her through the week after paying rent. "Excuse me, sir," she said softly, kneeling down to his level. "Are you hungry?" The man looked up, his eyes glassy with tears. "Yes, miss," he whispered. "I haven't eaten in 2 days." Without hesitation, Emily reached into her bag and pulled out her lunch, a simple sandwich and an apple. She handed it to him and then peeled off her scarf, wrapping it around his neck. "Here, eat this, and keep warm," she said. The man's hands trembled as he accepted the food and scarf. "Thank you," he murmured. "Bless you, young lady." Emily smiled, though her heart ached. "Take care of yourself, okay?" She stood up, ready to continue her walk to work, but then hesitated. She turned back, pulled out the last of her cash, and pressed it into his hands. "This isn't much, but maybe it can help you get a hot meal or a place to stay for the night," she said. The man's eyes widened. "You're an angel," he said, his voice cracking. Emily didn't feel like an angel. She felt like someone who was barely scraping by. But as she walked away, a warmth spread through her chest, outshining the cold wind. She'd done the right thing, and that was enough. What Emily didn't know was that her act of kindness hadn't gone unnoticed. Across the street, Nathan Cole, the 32-year-old CEO of a multi-billion-dollar tech company, sat in the back seat of his sleek black town car. He had been reviewing his schedule on his tablet when he happened to glance out the window. What he saw stopped him cold. Nathan had grown up in a world of privilege, surrounded by wealth and luxury. Acts of genuine kindness were rare in his circle, and what he'd just witnessed left him speechless. He watched as Emily handed over her lunch, her scarf, and then her money to the elderly man. She didn't do it for attention. She didn't even look around to see if anyone had noticed. It was pure, selfless compassion. "Stop the car," Nathan said to his driver. "Sir?" "You heard me. Stop the car." The driver pulled over, and Nathan stepped out, his polished leather shoes sinking slightly into the snow. By the time he reached the sidewalk, Emily had disappeared into the crowd. The elderly man, however, was still sitting there, clutching the food and money she'd given him. "Excuse me, sir," Nathan said, crouching down. "Do you know that young woman who just helped you?" The man shook his head. "No, sir. She's just a good soul. Not many like her left in this world." Nathan nodded, his mind racing. "Do you know where she went?" "Looked like she was headed to the diner down the street." "Thank you," Nathan said, slipping a $100 bill into the man's hand before walking away. When Emily arrived at the diner, the morning rush had already started. She tied on her apron and got to work, pouring coffee, taking orders, and balancing trays. She didn't notice the tall man in the tailored suit who slipped into a corner booth and watched her with quiet intensity. Nathan didn't know what he was doing there. He had back-to-back meetings and a mountain of emails waiting for him. But something about Emily's selflessness had struck a chord deep within him. He felt compelled to know more about her. As the hours passed, Nathan observed how Emily treated everyone with kindness, from the regular customers to the grumpy ones who snapped at her for no reason. She worked tirelessly, always with a smile, even when it was clear she was exhausted. Finally, as the lunch rush began to die down, Nathan approached the counter. Emily looked up, surprised by the sight of such a sharply dressed man in her modest diner. "Hi, welcome to Rosie's Diner. Can I get you something?" she asked. Nathan hesitated for a moment, then smiled. "Actually, I was hoping to talk to you. Do you have a moment?" Emily blinked. Sure. Let me just finish up here." She wiped her hands on her apron and came around the counter. Nathan introduced himself and explained how he'd seen her earlier that morning. "I just wanted to say how much I admire what you did," he said. "Not many people would give so much of themselves to help a stranger." Emily blushed, feeling a little embarrassed. "It was nothing. He needed help, and I just did what anyone should do." Nathan shook his head. "It wasn't nothing. It was extraordinary." They talked for a while, and Nathan was struck by Emily's humility and warmth. She had no idea who he was, and he found that refreshing. By the time he left, he'd made up his mind about something. The next day, Emily arrived at work to find the diner buzzing with excitement. Her boss handed her an envelope with her name on it. "What's this?" she asked. "Open it and see," he said, grinning. Inside was a letter offering her a position at one of the top philanthropic organizations in the city, along with a generous salary. The letter was signed by Nathan Cole. Emily's hands trembled as she read it. She couldn't believe it. When she looked up, Nathan was standing in the doorway, his smile warm and genuine. "Why?" she asked, tears welling up in her eyes. "Because people like you deserve every good thing in the world," he said, "and because the world needs more kindness, just like yours." As the weeks turned into months, Emily's life changed in ways she never imagined. She began working on projects that helped countless people, using her position to make a difference in the lives of others. And somewhere along the way, amid their shared projects and late-night conversations, Nathan and Emily found something neither of them had been looking for, but both deeply needed: love. Their relationship blossomed slowly, built on mutual respect and admiration. Nathan learned from Emily's unwavering kindness, and Emily discovered the compassionate man behind Nathan's confident exterior. Together, they dreamed of creating a world where more people would extend a helping hand, just as Emily had done that fateful morning. One evening, Nathan surprised Emily by taking her to a beautifully lit rooftop garden overlooking the city. "Emily," he said, taking her hands in his, "you've shown me what it means to care deeply, to give selflessly. I can't imagine my life without you. Will you marry me?" Tears streamed down Emily's face as she nodded. "Yes, Nathan. 1,000 times, yes." Their story became an inspiration to everyone around them, proving that even the smallest act of kindness can set off a chain reaction of love and hope. And in the end, Emily's selfless heart not only changed one man's life, but also transformed her own in ways she'd never dreamed possible.